Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Are You Listening with Abigail. I'm sorry for the radio silence. It has been 2 weeks since I've uploaded, and I know that's really shit of me, to be completely honest. Not for, for anyone that actually wants to listen to these episodes, obviously, but even for myself, because I really wanted to stay on top of this and just make sure I'm getting consistent episodes out, talking about things I really want to talk about. But I did book a last minute holiday, literally very unlike me. I'm a very type A person and I would never book a last minute holiday. But I think it was the Sunday we booked it and then we went away on the Thursday. So very, very last minute, and then we came back and it was just a chaos weekend. So sorry for the radio silence. I am back. The plan is to get back into uploading every single Sunday because I have missed it. I also feel like after I went to Mauritius and we went on this other holiday really, really was just chill. I read my book all week. And when I say read my book all week, I actually read the last book of the Throne of Glass series. So I read Kingdom of Ash. I started it on the way there. I finished it like the day after I got back from holiday. So almost 1,000 pages I read, and it's incredible, and I don't know what to do with my life now. I have, for anyone who has been reading or reads Sarah J Maas, obviously she is incredible. I've just started the Crescent City trilogy, that's the word, isn't it? Trilogy. I'm only like 3.5 chapters in, so I don't want to judge it, but I'm struggling. But I will say, I did feel the same at the beginning of Throne of Glass. I didn't feel the same at the beginning of ACOTAR because I actually listened to the audiobooks instead, so I was very in it straight away. Throne of Glass, it did take me a while, but obviously it's like the best series I've ever read. Now, I'm going to give myself, obviously, a chance. What I think I may do is if I feel like I'm really, really trudging my way through it, I may switch to the audiobooks instead. But the plan is to read. I'm not going to give up that quickly. I know for a fact a lot of people love Crescent City, and it's just a different concept and it's just a different kind of vibe than what we've been used to with the other two series. So I'm not jumping too quickly. But yeah, I am comfortable today. I'm recording this a lot later than I'm used to, actually. I normally read them, I normally record these earlier in the afternoon. It's actually 5 o'clock, it's like 5:10. I've had a really busy day, a nice day, and yeah. I've had a really nice day, actually. Like, it was busy, like it has been busy, but I will say, I do love days like this. So it's Thursday when I record these videos and I'm off work. I don't do clients on a Thursday. But this morning I went to Pilates. I then went to get my nails done because now I'm a girly who gets her nails done, apparently. I'm obsessed. Anyone who's watching the visual, I feel like they kind of look like little Maltesers. I did have tips on them, so they were longer. So now I've gone back to just usual biab of my natural length. I feel like I need a bit of length back, so hopefully by the next set they'll look cute. But yeah, they kind of look like little Maltesers, but I was trying to be an autumnal queen and, just stick to the season that we are in. And then I had an osteopath appointment, came back, I've washed my hair, whatever. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to record a slightly later episode instead. And yeah, do you know what's really funny? The topic I was going to talk about, I actually think I may save until next week, just because we are in October when I'm recording this. We'll still be in October actually by the time this goes out, but the very, very end of October. And all of a sudden, and that's why I paused for a second earlier, I was thinking about my day off, things like that. And I kind of actually would like to talk about the idea of kind of reinventing yourself or wanting to change habits or all of this winter arc kind of stuff. So I actually think I may switch this up a little bit to the topic I was going to talk about and save that for next week. Right, so I'll start this topic on the idea that September, I think for a lot of people, and like I said, I know we're like almost 2 months after that, but September for a lot of people feels like a new year, time for reset, we're going into a new season, things like that, all of this winter arc stuff. If no one has ever heard of a winter arc, do you know what? I'm going to ChatGPT what What is the definition of winter arc? Because I feel like I'm not going to do it any justice trying to explain it. Let's see. Typically, obviously, ChatGPT has decided to go down or is struggling at the time that I need it. I may have to go back really old-fashioned to go back to Google. What is the definition of winter arc? Right. So, a winter arc is a self-improvement trend popularised by TikTok, which is true, where individuals commit to a period of intense focus and discipline from October. Oh, it's actually from October. Interesting. October to January to work on personal goals like fitness, mental health, or learning new skills. It involves using the colder, darker months to lock in and build habits, essentially getting a head start on personal growth before the new year. So the time frame of it typically runs from October to January, or like a 3-month period ending on New Year's Day going into Jan. The purpose is to create a structured period of self-improvement and avoid, I don't know, it's just like bad habits that could accompany the winter season. So I suppose slowing down, stopping going to the gyms, maybe just like not letting, I don't want to say letting yourself go because that's a really awful term, but I suppose that's the idea, right? The term is a spin on character arc from a show or movie, framing the period as a transformative journey for oneself. And it can include things like setting us fitness goals, focusing on mental health and self-improvement habits. So I think the point of it is that by the time you get to January, you are already seeing the improvements, because obviously like January can be beginning of the year can be really weird time. And there's a lot of times I feel like you get into January and you don't feel like doing all these improvements. So the point is getting a head start. Now, I don't really know how I feel about that, because I think that sounds like a lot of pressure, and I'm not into pressure. I'm not, especially the older I get. But I do feel like this time of year, in a way, does feel like a new year. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of prefer this as New Year rather than January. It kind of does feel like it's time for a reset. The weather's changing and everyone feels like they want to get their life together before Christmas, things like that. I love that, but I do question why we kind of crave the idea of reinvention. And listen, I'm really bad for this. I'm really, really bad for this. And I fall into it 100%. And it's one reason I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in setting goals, but I don't believe in New Year's resolutions for this exact reason. So like, I just think from these reinventions, I've written down, are we genuinely growing? Or are we just chasing an upgraded version of ourselves that we won't be able to achieve? Because I feel like it's very easy to set the goals, but then probably not stick to them. I think social media obviously fuels this. And to be completely honest, it's very obvious that that's the case, because even from the definition, it says it's been popularised by TikTok. So I think you kind of see other people doing these things and think, well, God, I don't want to be behind, or I should be doing that. And I think women especially get caught up in the new aesthetics, kind of new routines and new identities, even down to what our bodies are looking like at a certain point. Like, 5 years ago, everyone was having, a big bum, BBLs and tiny waist and curvy. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, so skinny and everyone's trying to kind of keep up at all times. So I think especially for women, it can be really hard and to not feed into these kind of reinventions of ourselves. But it's exhausting, and I don't know, like it is exhausting to feel like you're always rebranding your life. And I do think that the point of life is, I suppose, is to kind of find what works for you. What works for one person won't work for you necessarily. So this whole reinvention thing won't necessarily work. I think the thing is like I said, I love and hate this at the same time. I am all one for, I'm going to change, I'm going to do this. I'll literally lay in bed and be like, I'm going to go to the gym in the morning, and then I won't go to the gym in the morning. Like, I really am one of the people that like feed into this completely. But I run a business and I do like to use this period of time, like even in work, like work is a little bit quieter. October, November are my quiet months. Like January could be quiet too, but October and November are quiet months. After summer and before Christmas, people are saving money. People are kind of like, I'll kind of hold off having my treatments done until Christmas time, things like that. So I do have a little bit more time on my hands, and I do like to use that period of time to essentially reinvent myself. Not always in a way that's personal, but business wise, it is my only time that I have to do this properly. I could do it in January, but it feels too late by January to do these things. So for example, I want to change my working hours next year. I want to have a bit more balance, and maybe take an extra day off. So I've been taking the time now to plan that, because if I waited till January, I'd have clients already booked in for January, and then I'd have to look at delaying it for another month or two. So I look at doing it now to plan ahead. So essentially there is a reinvention on my business end I have to do now to get ahead of the curve. And I do think like it's less about adding things to your life, and it's kind of more, in my opinion, more about removing what doesn't work or drains you. So, you know, if you've been really trying to force yourself to go to the gym, but you don't enjoy just going to the gym, find something else that works instead. Find some fitness classes that work instead. So remove that force for that, and then go find something else instead that works. I could sit and tell you my dream schedule for work really would be seeing clients twice a week and having more time for other things, and working with lash base and all that sort of stuff. I'm not there yet, but I'm every single year building on my business and working on it to be able to get there. So I think sometimes reinventing, or the idea of this like improving, reinventing, whatever, like it really adds a lot of pressure. I don't think we need to reinvent ourselves. I think sometimes it's good to use the time to realign and actually sit and think, right, what do I want? Have I fell into any traps of looking at things going, wow, that looks really good what they're doing, I want to do that, but do you actually want to do that? So a bit of reflection, I suppose, but yeah, just like realigning, and just how you can focus on getting closer to your dream life, not creating a completely new one. Like I said, if you genuinely have got a goal that you're like, I want to get there, go for it. If you want to completely reinvent yourself, then go for it. But I'm talking for the people that find that sort of thing too much pressure and too a bit of a trend, like we said. My lights just died. I'm pretty sure that happened in the last one, but it's fine. We're going for cozy vibes today. And new routines, healthier boundaries, and kind of different priorities. It doesn't need to be done kind of loudly. Listen, again, if posting these things like that on TikTok keeps you on it and going, and yeah, do it. Absolutely do it. But don't feel the pressure that you should be doing that. Like, if you want to create a new routine, you don't have to tell anyone that you're doing that. If you genuinely, it's for the self-improvement of yourself and your own life, you can do it yourself without having to announce it to the world. I also think that, like, I'm 30 in November, December, January. I'm nearly 4 months away from 30 now. I'm getting close. And I do think that, like, part of this probably is about getting closer to 30. A milestone, I suppose, always does bring reflection. And especially ending my 20s, I couldn't live my life the way that I was living it in my early or mid 20s. And I really want to go into my 30s knowing how I want to live it, have goals set in place, slow down. That is my bit, like, slow down a little bit. I've always been a very go, go, go person. Next goal, this, that, the other. And not slow down in terms of, like, slow down as in not working, but, like, I don't know what the word would be for it, but just slowing down slightly, I suppose. In January this year, there was like a few things. I'm just going to readjust my leg. My main thing I wanted to do was make sure that I was more consistent with movement and Pilates and things like that. Now, I've done that. I have done that. Even if it means only doing Pilates sometimes only once a week, I have done a reformer class once a week, nearly every single week this year. And I couldn't actually imagine not doing it. And I think the fact I've stuck to that is incredible. But I do want to stay a little bit more consistent with that. And I do think like taking an extra day off, I would have a little bit more time to do that. And I know you can always make time for these things, but yeah, I do think I just want to set kind of gentler goals and things that genuinely will improve my life for me. It doesn't have to be really dramatic. It doesn't have to be massively meaningful. I've got a really big, exciting year next year. I've got some of my best friends getting married. We'll be going on their hen dos. We hopefully are planning on getting a dog and things like that. And I just think, a lot of my friends are 30 next year, and I really just want to kind of like slow down and be able to enjoy all of them big things. I've said before on this podcast, I've worked really, really hard for the last 7 years. I've been in my business now 7 years, and I'm really at a point now where, like, a few years ago, if these things would have been happening, there's things I would have missed probably. I would have really struggled to get the time off work, to have had the money and things like that. I am so proud of the fact that I have built myself up to the point now where I actually can go and enjoy these things for my friends, for loved ones, be there, be present in these situations that I wouldn't have been able to before. And I also think when I'm talking about slowing down, I just want to also be able to be very present and enjoy these things. Like I said, celebrate all my loved ones and celebrate these big birthdays and milestones for the people that are around us, even down to really silly little things that, like, I'm trying to think of things that I'm trying to do now to set myself up for January. I'm not necessarily doing any more movement and stuff. I'm trying to stay consistent as I have been with Pilates, trying to get more steps in, trying to get back in the gym like 1-2 times a week, things like that, and just keeping it up rather than adding to it. But I'll tell you what I do want to make sure I try and do is I need to sort a few things in my flat. So I'm trying to set like once a week that I sort a cupboard, or I sort this, or I sort that. And I think this time of year is very, very good for that. So if you are feeling in that sort of like, not even nesting, I suppose, but like just tidying and like, it's not spring cleaning. What's the like autumn version of that, or the winter version of that? Because I just want to kind of get my life together in that way and feel really ready for that, I suppose. So by the time Christmas comes, I feel like, or January comes, our house is reset, done, it's feeling really good and aligned. I'm not going to keep this a really long episode. Like I said, I haven't done this for 2 weeks. I wanted to kind of ease myself back into it. I'm excited to talk about the topic I want to talk about next week, because again, it's relevant. I'm going to be back every week, I promise. But yeah, this was like when I actually sat down to sit and think about, right, what am I going to talk about today? That was the thing that I suppose feels the most relevant. And I suppose that's like the whole point of this podcast, is that if there is something that comes up that feels more relevant than what I was planning to talk about, that is what I will do. So yeah, I think we can evolve without overdoing it. And I think I liked what I said earlier about it's not always about reinventing, it's about realigning and kind of just like bringing yourself back to like what you want and the way you want things to work. I'm still trying to figure life out, I suppose, but yeah, I think that's what I've been thinking about this week. I would love to know what everyone thinks of the whole winter arc, or reinventing or realigning yourself during the winter months before Christmas and before January and stuff. Or are you someone that likes to kind of go into January and then start using that period of time to think about what you want and goals and stuff? I'd love to know. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please, 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 if you are listening on Spotify, leave me a little rating. Please leave me a comment if you can. Send this episode to anyone that you think would find it helpful. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.